I'm Tony Bellew,
I'm Tony Jeffries.
and this is a special podcast to mark 25 years anniversary of Show Racism, the Red Card.
This is 25 for 25, a Show Racism, the Red Card podcast. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube.
I didn't think racism was such an issue for me. I'm mixed race. My mother's black and my father's white. I grew up in a multicultural area. So I never really seen racism that much. I only seen it when I went to different parts of my city. When I went up north, to be honest. So when I was living in the south of Liverpool, we were so multicultural, as I said, in my street, from Pakistanis to Chinese to black to white. We were all mixed and intertwined in each other, and we went to school with everybody. My school had just as many Somalians in it as we had black and white people. We really did. So no, not really. Sport was always a way also that it crossed over. Sport had no boundaries. In sport, you don't see no colour. So we played football. It didn't matter if you were black, white, yellow, pink, green. If you can play football, you can play football. It was just as simple as that. And as for boxing, if you could survive, it didn't matter about the colour of your skin or what your ethnicity was. It was just, can you fight or can't you fight? And I think that's what great sports do. They knock down barriers. They build bridges. You've got to look at the Olympic Games, the greatest sporting event in the whole world, and nobody is bothered about anyone's colour there, and no one's paying attention. Tony will be the first to tell you he's been to an Olympic Games. He understands of all these countries, all these different ethnicities, colour. Everybody just comes together under one banner, and that's sport, and that's what sport can do.
But I did see it, and yeah, it wasn't nice. But like I see, and what Tony just said there about boxing, when you get into boxing, I started when I was 10 years old. You're in the gym, doesn't matter who you are. The big thing is, can you fight? And if someone can fight, it doesn't matter what colour the skin is, where they're from, the background. That's the big thing that what we've been brought up with. If they can fight, and that doesn't matter. Like I say, where they're from or what colour they are.
I found as we've got older and as we've moved through the times, yes, it's a bit better, but of course it still exists. I mean,
yeah.
I had season tickets at Everton Football Club from year after year. I was always at the games, and I would, in the earlier days, I would always hear racism on the terraces. And for me, I don't look like I'm mixed race unless you get close and probably study me. What's it called? The shape of my nose or my eyes and things like that. You'll know that I've got something in me. But from the outside looking in, I just look white, and that's what I've always been perceived in that way. But as you speak and speak up, you then come across as something completely different. For me, I've always found that racism is just purely people who are uneducated and clowns. Most of them, it stems from the parents. That's the only reason it's still living and it's still alive today, in my opinion. Lack of education for these kids, and horrible and uneducated parenting. That's what I think. And Matt, that is the only reason, in my opinion, that racism still exists to this day, and it needs to be addressed. People need to carry on having these difficult conversations. I speak to my children, and I've got a 15-year-old boy, a 12-year-old boy, a 7-year-old, and now one who's 10 months. And I'm always educating the kids because it's now in our face in the public. And that's the 10-month-old you can hear in the background, by the way. And these difficult conversations that we're having right now, my kids are looking at the news and switching around, and it's the Black Lives Matter movement, it's this movement, it's that, and everybody's adding in, and my kids are wondering now what's really going on. I'm really happy that they're having these conversations, because when they get to my age, hopefully it's being eradicated off the face of the earth. I don't think that'll ever happen. I'm not that naive and stupid enough to think that. But the more we keep having these conversations, the better it's going to be. I've seen my mother get racially abused. I've seen my dad deal with people harshly racially abuse my mother. I've seen my dad go through fights over it and stuff like that. So I say it's not very nice, but it's happening less frequently than it ever did before. As I say, when I was younger, you know what, to be honest, when you were going to school as a kid, I kind of felt sorry for a lot of the Indian people and the Asian crowd, because they were getting quite a bit of flack and stick. And my elder brother always said to me, because my eldest brother's darker than me, and so is my younger brother, and me and the two middle ones, because I've got three brothers, we are like the lighter ones of the four of us. But the elder one, he used to say to me, you should always look out for them other people from different ethnicities, because they are getting the abuse and getting picked on the way I used to when I was little like them. And it just made me sit back and realise, like, my brother was in the Toxters riots. You know, he had a shield in the loft of our house. It's crazy things that they've gone through. Like, I always look back and I try and look on these things and see what we can do to help. Just keep on evolving as people, and people need to understand and help and do whatever they can. But I said, the interesting thing is, me and Jaffa have been high-level boxers. Jaffa's been in the Olympic Games, represented his country on up-teen occasions, was a very good professional at the same thing. We don't see and feel much racism in boxing, because the ultimate thing in boxing is, can you fight? It doesn't matter what you're from, where you're from, what ethnicity, what religion you are. It's just, mate, he's going to punch you in the face, are you going to punch him back? It's just that simple in boxing. In football, I think it's a little bit tougher. If I'm being honest, I don't see certain groups from different ethnicities being represented in football the way they do in the boxing. As I said, in every ethnicity and in every religion and every creed and colour, there is representation in boxing everywhere all over the world. But in football, I don't see as much. It's like, I'm still yet to see an Asian man, you know, evolve into the game, a Pakistani guy evolve into the Premier League game, of that, someone of that kind of origin or somewhere from them kind of parts of the world. In boxing, there is people who have tried it and failed, but they've got themselves out there because, as I've said before, they can fight. Vijender Singh comes to mind straight away. I'm yet to see, you know, a world-class Indian footballer or one in the Premier. I don't know, but, you know, Jaff, what do you think on how we deal with it in boxing? As I said, it's just a toppy and easy one. Can you fight, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we're definitely further forward. And talking about traveling the world boxing, when you travel to a different country, like we keep saying, it doesn't matter the color of your skin or where you're from, unless you're from Russia, then everyone's like, oh, yeah. Boxing in Russia. we were like, oh no, the Russians are at this tournament. Oh, you see the tracksuits. Oh, the Ukrainians are here. So yeah, I mean, in boxing, it's like the big things was how good they can fight, and like we knew if we were fighting, if the Russians were there, or the Ukrainians or Uzbeks. Yeah, that was the things that were like, oh, that would open our eyes.
I think it's mad, Jeff, when I look back and think about it, some of our trips away in different countries. So it would, when you think about it, it would even go on from our point of view and our perspective, because I remember us turning up at a tournament one time, and I can't remember where it was, but it was the very first time I'd ever seen Ismail Silak. And I can't remember the person who said it to me but it was said in no terms race. I said everybody on our team was so multicultural. Our team, we had Chunky, who's mixed race like me. You'd have the whitest of the white, and you could have some of the blackest of the black. It didn't matter. Yeah. As I said, colour was no representation on our team. We were one big family. But when we turned up to this tournament, whatever it was, there was a Russian on the team, and he was black, and we used to come to the black Russians here. And when everyone used to see him, their asses had fall through the keck, because he was pretty special. He was a really good fighter.
As well, when he turned pro, he was called the Black Russian.
But I think he was a brilliant fighter.
Talking about it, I think what Tony touched on before about it's all down to education and who's educating you. Well, our parents is educating us. Well, who educated them? Well, their parents. Who educated them? Their parents. So it's coming down. So it's now. Tony's got four boys. I've got 3 girls. It's on us to educate our kids correctly to try and show racism in the record and try and get rid of it. So it's on the parents, our generation, to really do something about it. And I think now with all the awareness of this, we can start doing it. You know, there wasn't this awareness when our parents was younger, or our parents' parents. No, it was kind of. I feel like it was kind of a normal thing back then, back in the, I don't know, the 60s, the 50s, the 40s. Racism wasn't a big thing to if you were a white person.
It was nothing, Jeff. I think in them times, mate, that's when people, the 40s and 50s, that's when people were just blatantly looked at as, you stay away from us, we're better than you. And coloured had the code then, you know, there was such people at a high level, and black people were pushed to the back, you know, the back of the bus and stuff like that. I'm not sure what year that changed. But since I was a kid growing up, you know, I know we tolerate, you know, the police and stuff like that and the violence and whatever have you seen. I've seen it firsthand, as in police pulling kids in the area, giving them a slap and things like that when you were growing up, when you were younger. But them kind of things are being eradicated in our country, as we're still seeing it now, though they're treated completely different in America. I was in Philadelphia making the movie Creed. I literally seen firsthand, and you know, and a certain and quite a large number of the cast were black. So some of the stuntmen were black. The lead role of the whole movie, he was black. I would spend time with these all the time, and I would visibly see them change the minute there was police around.
Right.
So if we were walking down a street, or we were going to somewhere to play a game of pool or go and watch a game of American football, if a police car pulled up beside them, or police were walking down the street, visibly they would change. They would be uptight. They would be worried. They would be like looking at each other funny. And I was like, why are you so scared? And it made me realise as time went, the things that I've seen, you know, everybody's seen what happened to the likes of Eric Garner, you know, Breonna Taylor, I know the other fella, George Floyd. It's truly frightening what it is, but I literally witnessed that firsthand when I was in Philadelphia living there, of how petrified and how scared these people are of the police. And at the end of the day, you should not be scared of the police, no way, shape or form. But the fact of the matter is they are, because they're treated differently. And the sooner people start coming out and saying this, the better. As I said, difficult conversations need to be had. Sport is not the way to do it, because sport speaks for itself, in my opinion. It always has, and it always will. People will be given opportunities based on how good they are, regardless of the skin colour, regardless of the religious beliefs or the ethnicity. So I think looking at it from the outside in, as Jaff has just perfectly said, it's education of our children. And I say my kids are grown up. I'm mixed race. My wife is half Indian, half white. We're all, at some point, I would say within the next 50 to 100 years, there will be very few children who are just one race or one colour in them. I genuinely believe that, because we're basically becoming a big melting pot. And that's what's happening, because multicultural children are born every single day. And it will soon come where race no longer defines us as people. It still does at this moment, but I think one day it will change where it won't anymore. And hopefully that is sooner rather than later, because the sooner we get away from these kind of things where racism is going on, the better. You know, people should all, I think that we're all people. And no one's better than anybody else because of the colour of your skin or because of where you're from. We're just all people. We all bleed the same blood. There's only one race in the world, and that's the human race. That's the most important thing. So the sooner people start looking at that and the way that it is, the better. But I know people say to me, "You don't be so naive. Racism is always going to exist," and I understand and see why they say that. But if you know, you can't be. You're not taught to hate. You are taught to hate. Love comes naturally to people. These kids who have got hate towards other people because of the colour of the skin or because of the religious beliefs that they have, they're taught that. That is taught to you from your parenting. Whereas love isn't. Love comes naturally to everyone. Smiling comes naturally to everyone. As I say, frowning and angriness and hate, that's taught, in my opinion. You need to unteach it out to these kids. Me, Sly, MBJ, and my friend who I had over there with me was going to get a picture outside the gym in Philadelphia. Now, this gym was in the roughest part of Philadelphia you could imagine. So my mate said, "Excuse me," to the guy walking past, "Can you take a picture of the four of us?" There was 4 or 5 cops outside of the gym. And he says, "Yeah, mate, no problem." So my friend gives this stranger who he's never seen before, doesn't know him at all, gives him his iPhone, take a picture of the four. The four of us are standing on this picture. He gives him it back, whatever it goes on. The cop comes over and says, "Listen, be careful giving your iPhone out around here." And he said, "What do you mean?" He said, that guy could have ran off with your phone there, and I'm amazed he didn't. And he said, "Oh, sorry, he didn't know." He said, "Don't worry, I'd have just shot him anyway." They were the words the cop said to me.
Oh
He'd have shot this man over an iPhone. Don't worry, I'd have shot him anyway. That the copper said that to us. I heard that with my own ears, so it could never be denied. That's what the copper said. Don't worry, I'd have just shot him anyway. That's how easy it is for them to just act like that. I could not believe it. And my friend was like, and my friend was taken aback. He couldn't believe what he just did. Like, you were going to shoot someone over an iPhone. That's how easy it is. And this is the problem.
Yeah, and it's definitely bigger here, I feel like, than the UK. Kind of the story you touched on, Tone. I had a trainer with me in the car. We were driving. He's a black guy, and we were driving down the freeway. And the police come. We were having a conversation. The police come behind us. Like, "Oh, police are behind us." And then he got tight, and he got like sweating a bit, and he was shaking. I went, "What's wrong?" And I could just see the fear in his face because the police were driving behind us, and I'm like, "Whoa, what?"
Right, man.
To me, obviously, I'm a privileged white boy, if you want to say it. I'm not. It's like, it's just the police, but to him, he's like, so that right there showed us that there's a huge problem with the police. There really is. And then we've seen the riots and the Black Lives Matter movement and all that, which I'm all for this Black Lives Matter. I think it's great, and I'm fully supporting of it.
I think it's a fantastic movement, and one that needs to keep getting pushed. And I'm sick of hearing people like every put on my social media, all lives matter. No one's saying all lives don't matter. What we're saying is Black lives are being taken for no apparent reason. So that's why we're pointing on that it matters right now, and it needs to stop. The likes of Raheem Sterling are a fantastic role model to push this out. This is a lad who suffered racism from our own national press and our own national media, which is an absolute disgrace. The lad got bought his mother a house and got absolutely slated in the media for it. The lad's gone through an awful lot as it is. So I give so much credit to the people like Raheem Sterling who have gone through it and are now coming out the other end. And it's funny how it's all basically kissing his backside now and all backtracking on the way they've treated him over the last how many years. It just does say for 90% of us, we don't really see, and for the vast majority are good people that understand that. Very few that you've grown up with now, and that you've racism is just not a part of our lives. But in America, it is still a massive problem, and in certain parts of our country, in England, yes, it is a problem, but on a much lesser scale, in my opinion. I haven't seen racial abuse happen for a long time. Jaffa's just used the word there, white privileged. Now, that's just ingrained in a lot of people. You'd have to understand that isn't ingrained in a lot of the society. Like, my brothers have grown up around it. Fortunately for me, I've had parts of it, like some parts of it, I've felt it, where other parts I haven't. So, when I used to travel up to the gym in the north end of our city, you would literally see a change, because the north end of Liverpool used to be predominantly white. It's different now, but growing up, it wasn't like that. I would get on a bus. The bus journey would probably be about 7 or 8 miles from my house, and you would literally see the difference of people from a bus journey to another, from one stop to the next, and that's how it changed. And that's hard to come to terms with. I used to turn up with, Jaffa will be able to tell you, you have a Lord tracksuits, you're dangling chains on, your big baggy tracksuits, and people must have thought, this fella must just think he's Eminem. And it wasn't just that, it's ingrained in you, it's in my culture, it's what I am. And I used to just embrace it, but they don't understand that. And I'd say what people don't understand, they're usually scared of, which is a very, very sad thing. But that's just the way it goes, mate. It is the way it is.
Yes. What do you think about, like right now we're talking about basically whites being racist to every other culture. What about the other cultures onto the whites?
Yes. Goes both ways. There is racism in every race and in every religion. There is extremists, you could say, in every race and every religion. So Obviously, you see a lot less frequently, but I'm pretty sure it goes on both ways, 100%. Have I seen it? Yes, from my, another story I've got. We went to not Philadelphia. Sorry, I was in New York. I turned up to a gym to spar a guy. Oh, what was his name? I was supposed to spar Curtis Stevens in New York. It was in Brooklyn. Went to the roughest gym in a high-rise flat. I turned up many years ago. Anyway, Curtis Stevens didn't turn up. Another boy turns up. He's just come back from the Olympic Games. His name's Marcus Brown. So forget about the sparring, whatever goes on. As I've turned up at this underground, like in these high-rise blocks in New York, because I used to do a lot of camps in New York. I'd spend a lot of time with Gleasons and all different boroughs, Long Island, Staten Island, Brooklyn. So anyway, we're walking into this high-rise apartment flats in the ghetto. There's a lady outside the high-rise flat, and my friend has got out the car, and he's a big guy, my friend as well, and he's got his phone out, and he's videoing as we're walking through, because he just thought, this place is just, it looks like someone's going to come out of somewhere, rob us or shoot us at any moment. And that's obviously how ghettos are perceived, but it didn't happen. But as we're walking in, there must have been a lady. She was no younger than 70 years old, let's just say, an old lady. I look at the lady, she smiles back. She sees my friend walking around with a phone. My friend is a unit. He must 18 stone, big guy. And she went, "Yo, white boy, put that goddamn phone down now." You should have seen, he was like a spoiled school kid. He goes, he was walking around like this, the phone, and he went, "Hey, white boy, put the phone," and he went like that and put the phone down. So now, if that was a white person said that to a black person, that would be deemed racist immediately. Well, it's racist for her to say it to him. Yes, at the time it was funny, and after a couple of minutes later, we were all laughing when we were in the gym waiting for the sparring partner to arrive. But it goes on and on. There's all different ways of it going on. The only thing I would say, Jaff, is that people aren't dying because of it. When you split it round the other way.
So when you talk about what that old woman said to you, I remember after the Beijing Olympics, I was going to Las Vegas for a holiday, and some guy who I knew was like, "Oh, you should go to visit Floyd's gym, go and see, go there, and you get a meeting." And I'm like, "What? Me, Floyd Mayweather, what?" So he organised it with some guy who worked in Floyd's gym, and Floyd was training for a fight, and I went in the gym, and I was the only white guy in there. And but I didn't even think about that at the time. I was just so like, couldn't believe that I was in this gym that I've seen on 24/7, I've seen on the TV. And there was lots of people in the gym. Then eventually Floyd came in like 20 minutes later, and he went round to everyone in the gym and shook my hands. And then he came up to me and he looked us up and down and said, "Who the f*** is this white boy? What's he doing in here?" Yeah. And I was like, I'm Tony. I went to the Olympics, and I just come to," and he just walked away. And I'm like, "What?" And then I was like, from then I was like, because I was a big fan of Floyd, but from then I was like, I'm not a fan of him anymore. But like you've just mentioned, if he come to the other gym in the scenarios the other way around,
yeah, of course, you'd be thrown out the gym. You'd be thrown out the gym, and that's what I'm saying. That's why it should be looked at, because his perception of you is disgusting, and it's wrong, and it shouldn't be allowed. And he's got that perception because he thinks that that's how you look at him. Because exactly.
So it comes down to the education again. It comes down to education again. We don't know what he's been through in his life, and maybe he's putting everyone.
He doesn't know what you've been through, Jaffa, in your life though as well. So he had no right to talk to you like that.
Exactly. No, yeah, I've never stick up for him because it was disgusting what he said, and
for you to idolise him and look up to him.
There's so much for everyone to do, but we've all got to work at it as what you said, the human race. We've all got to work at it together to get rid of it. It can't just be one race. Has got to be better. Everyone, I feel like,
everyone has,
and everyone's
education of the children going forward. It's all about what Jaffa said at the very start of all these conversations. It's educating children, and that is the only way we're going to eradicate it from us completely.
I don't think it's going to be in our lifetime, because like you said, there's all these crackpots, all these lunatics. I think it's going to be a couple more generations before it completely goes, if it will complete, I don't know if it'll ever completely go, but you know, but if you just look at how much it's changed in 25 years, what we're talking about here to right now, it's I think it's much better. And then put another 25 years on top of that. So in the last 50 years, how much it's changed. So in another 50 years, or another 100 years, you know, I think we're on our way. But like Tone said, it's all about these conversations, these awkward conversations. That's really going to help to, you know, get rid of it.
These are the things that you need to educate our kids on now, because it's just the sooner we do it, the better. The more equality there is in the world, the better. No one should have a head start over somebody else because of the colour of your skin. That is just the top and bottom of it. We should all have a level playing field. We should all be starting at here. One shouldn't be starting here purely because of the colour of your skin or your ethnicity or your religious beliefs. I'm a massive believer in that. Religious belief should not be pushed and forced upon anyone. Believe whatever you want. Just, oh, you're a nice person. That's all that should matter, mate. Hopefully, enough people listen to this and take it on board. You've got an amazing athlete and former Olympian in Tone, and then you've got a Mountie Scouser who happens to just do a few things in the professional game as well. So in our sport, as I said, it's not really a problem, because it will always be, lad, if you're gay or whatever it is, whatever have you, can you fight, mate? Simple as that. I don't care if you want to dress up as a woman. I don't care if you want to dress up as an alien. I don't care if you want to pretend your name's Paul and your real name's Peter. Can you fight? And boxing will always be determined by that. And day-to-day life, we have a much different story. And that's the one that really needs addressing. My younger brother's gay, just being married to his partner. And the LGBT community is something that is progressing, is getting somewhere, but it is so far away from where the racism movement is that it's unreal. It's years behind that, in my opinion. The amount of abuse I got on social media by posting a picture of my brother being married was just unbelievable. The hate is just another level. I'm not really that bothered. Listen, it's no coincidence why I ended up a fighter and a boxer. When you're growing up in the late 80s and the early 90s and your younger brother's black and gay, that doesn't go down very well from where I'm from. So you can imagine the amount of fights I've had defending him. And he was gay, you know, he was openly, you know, you could just tell my brother wasn't a quiet gay man. My brother was a loud, outspoken gay man. And, you know, you would hear him before you'd see him. So I had a number of fights defending that lad, believe you me. I was about 15, 20, you know, before I set foot in the boxing gym. But it's getting better. Do it once again, does have a place in sport. Of course, it's a place in sport, but ultimately it always comes back to that same thing we've just said, Jaffa, can you fight? And then ultimately it will come down to, you know, there's no point in having a gay man come out and he goes, yes, I'm the gay boxer, I'm the first one who's come up, but he just gets absolutely tanked every single week, you know what I mean? No one wants to watch him. It's going to be one of them ones that it'll come out when it's ready to come out. It will help, but we're talking about sport here. That's for the sport world to say on things like that, but from a general perspective on how people should view it and deal with it, it's just whatever makes you happy. There's two types of people in the world, in my opinion. There's nice people and there's nasty people. And what do you want to be? What do you want your kids to be? Simple as that. And the lack of education is the biggest thing in our children.
I post videos on my Instagram account where I'm wearing LBG gloves, like real gloves, and the amount of abuse that I get for wearing these gloves is ridiculous, and it's coming mainly from a different part of the world. So homosexuality is still not accepted in lots of parts of the world, which to me is absolutely crazy, absolutely ridiculous that it's not. And I think we should. I think it would be great if a boxer comes out who is gay. I think it would be really good for the gay community. And I was talking to my good friend who is a gay guy, and I was saying to him what I really think needs to happen for this to be acceptable and this to be normal, which it should be, is Disney or someone should make a movie where the two princesses get married or the two princes get married, and that comes down to, again, educating your kids. And I think that this right now is definitely getting better. The movement in that community is definitely getting better, and yeah, I think it comes down to educating your kids. But we've still got that other side of the world that is like idiots who thinks it's a disease and who thinks that you can cure it. It's just ridiculous, you know.